Welcome! Today I would like to talk a little bit about the idea of comprehensible input in language learning and why I have a few problems with it. Not many. The idea is great. Let me explain. The basic idea in comprehensible input is when you give your brain input at a level where you more or less understand it without too much effort, your brain can gain information from that language input without you even doing anything. Well, you have to listen, and it helps if you listen a little bit attentively. But the idea is that language learning happens when we understand content in a foreign language. So the act of comprehending something that someone says in a foreign language that we do not yet perfectly understand. The very act of understanding is where the actual learning happens. This idea is part of a, I think, 5-part framework from a guy called Stephen Krashen. He's a linguist or a neuroscientist or both. He wrote about this in the 70s or the 80s, I don't know. And this idea is wildly popular on YouTube, and I think rightfully so. Because language is something we as humans are born to use. Everybody learned at least one language in their childhood, and it is actually not possible to grow up without learning a language. Brains and language are sort of working well together, or even brains create language. And therefore, if you expose your brain to the new language, it will do a lot of the work for you. So it will learn, or as Krashen said, you are acquiring the language. And you're not doing this by learning grammar, vocabulary, rules, patterns, and so on. Well, you are, but you are not doing it consciously. You're not actively learning stuff. So far so good. I love the idea, and I think it works. The one thing I have a problem with is that Krashen actually, I think Krashen, or at least people who quote him, insist that the input needs to be comprehensible, and they have a very narrow definition of what this comprehensible means. In my experience, it is totally fine to use input that you do not understand, or that you understand maybe 30, 40, 50% of. So for example, if you are new to learning a language, it is helpful to just listen to authentic content in that language for maybe 30 minutes a day, or 2 hours a day, or however much time you have a day. And this will not be comprehensible. So what I mean is that if you learn, for example, Japanese, listen to authentic spoken Japanese for a few minutes a day, or for maybe an hour, and just leave it in the background. You will get used to the intonation, the sound patterns, the flow of the language. And this will be hugely helpful later. And then when you learn a little bit more, you can listen for words you recognize. And after a while, if you are learning on the side by another, maybe more traditional method, you will notice, I know this word. Hey, he's using, or she, the speaker is using words that I have heard before. So, hey, this is interesting. And you do nothing else with that. You just notice and maybe are a little bit happy that you understand a word. Another way you can look at this is, how can you make input comprehensible when it is actually way too difficult for you, or when you're not there yet, or you feel you're not there yet. And one example for this is watch videos, listen to podcasts, read books, but I usually use videos, where people are talking about something that you know very well in your own language or in English. For example, you are an athlete, you are watching fitness workout videos in English all the time. Do the same in your target language. And then you will notice that you basically understand what's going on because you watch the video and you know what they are doing. So, and that way you can use authentic content. And what do I mean with authentic content? It is content where the speaker does not think about how much language you understand. They're just talking. They're just speaking their language, and because they want to convey a meaning, they want to give you information, they want to teach you something, they want to show you something, they want to show off maybe, and they don't care about whether a word is basic or advanced or highly advanced. They just use the word because it's the right word in a certain situation. So that's authentic language. And why do I think that using authentic material is better than using comprehensible input? Because, first, for content to be comprehensible at every level in your language journey, it needs to be so-called graded. In popular languages like Spanish, English, French, Italian, probably Japanese, Chinese, yeah, that's the big ones. It is very easy to find a lot of material that is targeting beginners or intermediate speakers. And these are the so-called graded readers, the little booklets. They have like short stories or a novel that has been rewritten in a simpler way, or maybe fairy tales that are originally for children and then they are again rewritten in a simpler way, and you have vocabulary lists and you maybe have slow audio for this, and it is all very nice and very helpful and completely boring. So I cannot use this material because I get bored. And when I get bored, I don't learn. And I know it would be super helpful to use graded reading material in Spanish, but I hate it. I don't care. And when I don't care, and when I'm not interested what this language is about, I don't understand anything. And I will not learn anything. So in Spanish, what I did instead, I got myself the audio version, the audio narration of the first Harry Potter, and got the book from the library. And right now I'm just listening to it because I know what's happening. I have read the first chapters in so many languages, so many times. I know what's happening. And I know for other people that may be super boring. So don't do something that's boring to you. Do something that you enjoy and give your brain the chance to get used to the language. I cannot prove to you that this will work for you, but I would encourage you, give it a try. Maybe the easiest way is you go to Google Translate. You enter in your own language a search term for a topic that you are interested in. Have the search phrase translated into your target language, and then you paste that search phrase into YouTube. And then you just look what videos appear, and then you watch videos about this topic in your target language. And then you see how much you will understand. And I think it will be more than you think, because you have the video, you see it. And then what I talked about in the beginning is happening again, because you are understanding, you're immediately understanding what they are talking about in that foreign language. And this gives your brain a chance to deduct language, to learn the language, to recognize structures, to recognize words and remember them without you even thinking about it. This is not quick. This takes months and years. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do anything else, but I am saying that however you are learning your language right now, adding this to your toolkit will be helpful. And it will probably also be very enjoyable. And with this piece of advice, I leave you for today. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.